Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back after a long summer. It's really good to be back. And why are we here? We're here to help you improve your English. My name's Craig from the website mansioningles.com and from the podcast inglespodcast.com. And with me, and it's really good to see you over there, just next to me here
Oh,
on my desk.
I'm rusty. You see, I went that way.
It's Lynn. Hi, Lynn.
Hi, Craig. It's lovely to be back. It does feel like it's been a really long time, doesn't it?
It does. It's really good to be back again. But I think we needed a rest, and maybe we'll talk a little bit about that later as people
I think we
start coming
do.
in,
And I think
joining
you're
us.
looking really good, Craig. You're looking very refreshed and fresh.
Thank you very much. I feel
You're welcome.
good. Yeah, I feel okay. So putitlikethis.com. Are you back teaching yet? Are you open for new students? Are you accepting new students at the moment?
Yes, I am. So if anybody's interested in classes, you can go to putitlikethis.com. And my students are slowly coming back now for the new academic year, but I still have some timetable slots free. So if anybody's interested, if you don't know about me, if it's the first time you've been on these kind of Facebook Lives, I'm an online teacher exclusively, and I tailor make courses. I try to help students find their own voice in English. So usually everybody has a specific purpose why they're learning English. And I try to create a course around your specific purpose. So rather than having sort of like a standard type course, I'll create a course specifically for you, and one which fulfills your needs. Yeah. So if you're interested, go to my website and you can see me.
And they can contact you through Put It Like
They
This.
can contact me through Put It Like This. That's right. I'm really getting going from the week after next. So from the 19th of September. Next week, I'm escaping for another week's holiday. So
two holidays in one.
Yes, I've just got my last holiday coming up next week.
If you're interested in a conversation course to practice speaking and pronunciation and fluency, I am starting another conversation course at the beginning of October. So in about 2 or 3 weeks. If you would like more information, if you want to practice speaking with me and a small group of lovely people, go to englishmasterclass.net, put your email in the website, and I will be in touch by email with more details later. Who is joining us?
Yeah, we've got some. It's lovely to see everybody again in your text, in your chat file. So Heide's joining us again from Buenos Aires. Hi, Heide. Paki from Spain. Yeah. Vicente. He's been with us before, I remember. Nice to hear from you again, Vicente. You're seeing us, but we're hearing from you. Hema is there again. Great to have you again with us, Hema. And Francisca from Mallorca. Fantastic. That's lovely. So
lovely to see you all.
Thank you for joining us. Yeah.
Very nice to see you. And maybe it will be a good idea today to talk about a little bit about holidays and holiday vocabulary, but also something for Lynn and I, and hopefully for you as well. When the summer's over, even if you didn't go on holiday, maybe you have to get back into the routine of work and studying English because it's the beginning of the academic year soon, isn't it?
And yes, it is. But I'm looking where you're all from. And of course, the people from Europe, so from Spain and Mallorca, well, Mallorca's Spain, but from the island, Mallorca, people in the Northern Hemisphere, of course, we've just had our big block of summer holidays. But of course, Heide in Buenos Aires, they're in the winter. And I know that because I've been on holiday to New Zealand. So in the New Zealand, nobody was on holiday because it was the middle of winter. So I'm sorry for the people from South America. We're talking about holidays and going back to work, and you're probably still in the middle and looking forward to your holidays around Christmas time. Yeah.
Yeah. All you in the Southern Hemisphere, you've got the summer in front of you, which is nice as well. So you went on holiday it was a family trip as well to New Zealand.
Yeah.
And when did you come back?
I just came back last week, so I spent probably a month, nearly a month in New Zealand, down under.
So how
It
does it
was just
feel coming back, like getting back into the routine, or as we say, getting into
of
the
things.
flow
Well,
of work and
uh,
routine back here?
it's been really difficult for me because the thing is, when I went on holiday, I went to see my mother. I went to visit my mother who lives there, and the thing is, I went alone, so I didn't go with my family. And the thing was, here in Spain I'm really busy because of course I've got my job, I've got my we've got our daughters living at home, so you know the house is a big household, and I'm always busy with cooking and planning and working, and and I'm used to lots of people around me. And of course I've just spent a month in the winter where it's been dark in the evenings, and I've obviously been visiting my mother, but I wasn't staying in my mother's house. And because she's elderly now, I wasn't spending all day with her. So I was spending some hours in the morning, some hours in the afternoon, and then the rest of the time I was very solitary. So I had a big rest. But so it's been a big shock to come back and suddenly be responsible for everything again.
It took me a long time because I came back at the end of July from my holiday. It took me a long time to get back into the flow of work. Well, a long time. It took me 2 or 3 days. I just felt so lethargic. I just couldn't be bothered. I just felt that I didn't want to be, and I enjoy my job, but I just felt like
Mhm.
I just didn't want to get back into the routine. I did feel that I had recharged my batteries. I felt fresh and I felt good, but it was getting back into the routine of work and
Mhm.
being here. How do you feel at the moment?
Oh, I definitely feel that my batteries have been recharged. But the thing is, I would be lying if I said I didn't enjoy holidays. I love holidays and I love rest. And so, of course, I like my work as well. I do like my work, but of course, work is very full on, isn't it? We use that expression in English, full on. It means that you're always alert and you're always thinking about your work all the time. And
Mhm.
it's the opposite of being relaxed. And I mean, I do like waking up in the morning when I want to wake up, when I'm ready to wake up, and having the whole day ahead of me and not very many plans. I have to say I do enjoy that.
And the only decision you have to make is what you're going to have to eat. That's the only
Yeah, or
decision
yeah,
that you
what you're
make.
going to have to make, or the, let's say the can we this is another metaphor. We say the canvas, like in painting, the canvas is blank and you can paint on the canvas whatever you want. And that freedom is just so lovely, isn't it, on holiday? And you don't have that when you're at work, because when I wake up in the morning in my bed, when in a normal working day, then I already know what I'm doing at 9 o'clock and at 11 o'clock and at 12 and all the things. And I go to bed and I still have a huge long list of things that I still have to do. And I just love that about holidays, that you have that blank canvas and you can do what you want. It's wonderful.
Someone's asking in the chat about Reza. Reza doesn't usually do these live streams. He's much too lazy. He prefers to sort of sit back in the evening with his feet up. But no,
Uh-huh.
that's not the reason. This is something I do, Kelvin, every Wednesday, every second week with Lynn, and we just had a
Hmm.
summer break, so we're talking about getting back into the routine after the summer break.
Hmm.
One other question, which may be useful for you if you've just come back from a rest and you're getting back into work, is how to make the getting back to work more bearable.
Hmm.
That's a good question. Any tips to make getting back to work more bearable? The
I
way I
hope you
did it,
I hope you
sorry,
all understand what bearable means. What does bearable mean?
that you can handle it better, that you can accept it in an easier way, that you can suffer it better, that you deal with it in a better way. Yeah, it's more
Yeah.
acceptable to you.
Tolerable, if you
But
like.
that's the word I was looking for, tolerable.
Tolerable. Hmm.
I just tried to take baby steps. So I woke up the first day, didn't do anything. Woke up the second day, tried to do something, and then I wasn't really in the mood, and then I watched some TV because I work at home. So that's the challenge. How do you get motivated to do like a full day of productive work? So I just said, okay, I'm just going to do one thing for the next hour. And I set my goal very small, very
Ah,
achievable.
okay.
Of course, once I started doing that, that motivated me to do something else. And so that
Mhm.
helped me to get started. So I just needed a kick up the bum, basically. I just needed some motivation to get going. And when I started,
Uh-huh.
then it wasn't too bad.
Then you get quite into it. I think
Yeah.
it's also different because I haven't always been self-employed. So in the past, when I worked for a company, and I had to go back when I was a lot younger, and I worked in a chemical company. I used to want my holidays so much, and I was a bit silly. Sometimes I would come back from a holiday, maybe for 3 weeks, and I would come back on a Sunday evening, and then I would go back to work on the Monday morning because I wanted to maximize my time away as much as I could. I wanted to take advantage of it. But after a while, I realized that made the going back to work so difficult. You were so tired, so stressed. And the first day you were at work, you really didn't want to be there because it
Yeah.
was such a contrast from the holiday. And so after a few years, I started to get into the habit of trying to come back on a Saturday so that I would always have one day at home before I went back to work the next day. And as I've got older, we do that more often. Sometimes even we come back like 2 days before we start work again, because it's
Hmm.
very difficult, I think, to come back in the evening and then start work the next day. Do
Yeah.
you think?
Yeah, no,
Uh-huh.
I agree. I think the older you get, the more time you need to
To
to get
adjust.
to adjust and to get going.
Yeah.
Brian, you haven't missed any over the last 2 months because we had a break. So
Uh-huh.
this is the first live
Yeah.
that we're actually doing since I think it was the beginning of July.
July. My last one
Um,
was in July. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
And I think you stopped
And
shortly afterwards, didn't you? The week
hi,
after.
Paloma. It's good to see you here too. So thank you to
Yeah.
everybody
Nice.
who's watching live, and thank you if you're watching the replay. We're
Yeah.
here every second week, and I'll be here next week either by myself or alone. I haven't decided yet. Either by myself or alone. I need a holiday, Lynn.
You
I
do.
just either by myself or alone.
You will be either, no, you will be both by yourself and alone.
Either by myself or with somebody. That's what I wanted to say, with a guest. So
Exactly.
we'll see.
Yeah.
Shall we look at some vocabulary?
Yes. Go ahead then.
Let's ask you, if you're watching live, we're going to talk about holidays and look at some vocabulary. What different types of holidays can you think of? When you think of the word holiday in British English, obviously in American English, it's vacation. But when you think of different types of holidays or vacations you can take,
Hmm.
what comes to mind? Can you write the
Yeah. Write in
different
the chat
ideas in the
any
chat?
any types of holidays that you know. For example, camping holiday would be one type of holiday. Any different types of holidays that you know that exist. In the meantime, Kelvin has asked a very deep question. Can you put that one up? Do you recommend stoicism as a way to improve your life situation?
Oof.
Craig, that sounds like a very deep question. I think that's a very deep question, Kelvin, to ask us on our first day back at work.
Yeah.
What do you
So
think?
what
What
do
do you
I
think
think?
that
Well,
means?
if you don't know what Stoicism is, the Stoics were Greek philosophers, and they lived there. Obviously, if they were politicians in Greek society, they were pretty rich. They were in the higher level of Greek society, so they had really big houses. They had slaves. They had all the food they wanted. And the idea of Stoicism is to reduce everything to the minimum. So not to eat for a few days or just eat once a day, and to wear old rough clothes and not wear the finest cotton clothes or the finest clothes. So just to reduce your life to the bare minimum, and
Mhm.
by that way you philosophize and you go deeper into yourself and you realize you really don't need all the luxuries
So
around
maybe
you.
to be kind of more minimalist, yeah, rather than
Yeah.
luxurious. Yeah.
I think it
Uh-huh.
does improve the life situation, Kelvin. I try to make my life as simple as possible. And because I live in a very, very small flat, I don't have a lot of storage space. So if I want new clothes or if I want new things, I have to throw something away. I can't just accumulate a load of possessions and things because I don't have the space. So that's one way. I'm not a minimalist, but I do keep things to a minimum because I don't have the room for lots of things.
I had a very interesting experience on my recent holiday actually with that, because when I was visiting my mum is quite old, elderly now, and I was helping her sort of organize her house. And we were looking through old things that she didn't need anymore, and then we were throwing them away. And that's what I was doing basically in my holiday, was helping her organize. And we threw away so many things. And it's normal. My mother is not somebody who's a particular big consumerist. It's just the quantity of things that you tend to accumulate over a life, like living in. And do you know, normally when I go on holiday, and especially when I go to New Zealand, I often go shopping. I enjoy shopping and seeing what different things there are to in Europe. And I often usually bring back quite a lot of things that I've bought. But this holiday, particularly because I spent so much time throwing things
Throwing things
away,
away. Yeah.
I was so disgusted at the fact that we accumulate so much stuff that
Yeah.
we then have to throw away, and it has to go into landfill. And it completely put me off. That's a phrasal verb, to put somebody off. It made me feel, oh no, I don't want to buy anything. And this was the first holiday I came home and I haven't bought anything.
Yeah.
So I was practicing stoicism in my holiday this year.
And here's a tip for you, Kelvin. If you want to reduce the amount of stuff that you have, take a really big box or more than one, and first start with your clothes and then do other things. But any clothes you think you're not sure whether you might wear them or you might use this thing or maybe not, put it in the box and write the date on the box and put the box in a place in the house and check the box 6 months later, and anything you haven't taken out of the box you can throw away because you probably don't need it.
Don't need it.
So if you haven't used something or worn something for 6 months or 8 months, throw it away. You don't need it.
Right, now Hema is the one. She's back at work there. Hema,
Yeah,
well done, Hema.
Hema's working. She's the only
Hema's
one who's
working.
working in this group. Everybody else is still on holiday. Yeah.
Right, so Hema's come up with one of the collocations. So yeah, you can have a camping holiday and you can have an adventure holiday. Yeah.
Any more ideas?
Do you like adventure
more?
holidays, Craig? Are you a fan of adventure holidays?
Yes, I am, but I'm usually not the one that initiates the holidays, so I need a bit of a push sometimes.
Does your wife do that for you?
Yeah, I get pushed. But I always enjoy them. I always enjoy. I don't like camping holidays. I have been camping. No.
I love camping holidays.
If I want the experience of sleeping outside, then I'll just go and sleep in the street. I just don't see the point in sleeping in a tent if there's a perfectly good hotel in the area.
Oh, I love camping holidays, and I love adventure holidays too. They're my favorites. Yeah, if you can have
Cultural
holiday as well. Well done, Hema. Yeah.
Yep. Yep. That's good.
What
Any
about
others?
culture holidays? Do you like those, Craig? Do you often go on
Yes, I
cultural
do.
holidays?
I mean, again, it depends where, but yeah, I'm thinking maybe in a few months' time of going to Vienna, which is a very cultural city. I've never been. I've never seen Vienna. It's one flight from Valencia to Vienna, Have you been there? Is it?
Yes, I've been to Vienna. It's very pretty, and there's lots. I mean, it's funny actually because we say cultural holidays, and we tend to think, I tend to think immediately like of city holidays where you go around museums and art galleries and buildings, and you look at buildings. But of course, culture
Mm.
is more than that. You know, you can do cultural holidays by going to not the main urban city centers, but by going into the countryside. Sometimes, for example, spending a week or two living with a family is a fantastic way to understand the culture. But I think generally when people say a cultural holiday, we think of going to museums, don't we? Museums, art galleries, probably the
Yeah.
city visits.
Yeah,
Yeah.
museums and galleries. Although, like, you could go to Egypt and see the pyramids and see the
Yeah.
Sphinx and see
Uh-huh.
these kind of things.
But you're looking at buildings and things, aren't you? You know,
Yeah.
usually. Uh-huh. Yeah.
Countryside
Oh,
holidays. Yeah.
uh-huh.
Um,
Do we say countryside holidays? We don't really say
Not
countryside.
really.
We
A
would, I
holiday,
mean, they're holidays in the
nature,
country. We wouldn't say nature holidays. Outdoor
uh,
outdoor holidays, would we say, or outdoor pursuits?
trekking. You go on a trekking
Or
holiday.
activity holidays,
Uh,
maybe
Well,
activity
that would be a
holidays.
specific activity.
Uh-huh.
I would say a holiday in the country.
A holiday in the country, but we don't say
Yeah.
countryside holidays, do we? We say a holiday in the country,
Yeah.
Ronaldo.
Another example, religious holidays,
Religious holidays. Now, that that
pilgrimage.
combination of words, you got to be careful because when we say religious holidays, I think in English we would understand the date. For example, Christmas Day is a religious holiday. Ramadan is a religious holiday. Yeah. But I think what you probably mean is like pilgrimages.
Hmm.
That's when people use their holidays to practice religion. That would be yeah, we would say pilgrimages. Would you agree,
Yes,
Craig? Yeah.
a pilgrimage.
You
Yeah,
don't
like
say I'm
the
going on a religious holiday. No,
no, I'm going on a pilgrimage, or
a
I'm going on the
pilgrimage.
Camino de Santiago is a religious holiday.
Uh-huh.
Is that?
Yeah.
Well,
Well, it's a
it's
pilgrimage.
a
Hmm.
pilgrimage. Yeah.
Hmm.
Hi,
Hmm.
Christine. Good to see you. Yeah, this is our
Ah,
first live since July, so
yeah,
we'll be back now on Wednesdays.
yeah.
Okay, let's look then at the vocabulary we've prepared because you've got some good ideas, but we also thought of these, first of all, package holiday. That's an
Uh-huh.
all inclusive holiday, isn't it? Where you pay one price and you get everything included, the hotel, the flight, isn't
Yeah.
it?
Well, a package holiday means that the organization has organized the travel and the accommodation. But an all-inclusive holiday is something different. An all-inclusive holiday means that you don't pay anything else. So, for example, I think there are some hotels that they often offer, especially in the Dominican Republic. I think I've seen them where they offer an all-inclusive holiday. So you pay for the holiday, which is the flight, the accommodation, but when you go to the hotel, everything is included: drinks, food,
Hmm.
activities in the hotel resort, so that you literally don't need any cash with you, don't need any money to do anything else. That's an all-inclusive
My
holiday.
sister's going on an all-inclusive cruise in November
Ah,
from
uh-huh,
Barcelona. It's
uh-huh.
A Beatles cruise.
A Beatles cruise, the
They've
music
got
group.
yeah, well,
Oh, wow.
obviously they're not going to be there. They
Oh,
have groups and bands that are tribute bands, so they play the
all to the
Beatles
Beatles.
music, and
Oh, wow.
everybody who's on the cruise is a Beatles fan.
And do they sail to Liverpool?
No, they're
Oh.
going to I don't know why, that they shouldn't they?
Uh-huh.
They go to Marseille and somewhere in Italy as well.
Oh,
It's
Marseille's lovely.
4
Uh-huh.
days. But the
Mhm,
point is, everything's included. The music,
mhm,
obviously, the entertainment, the food, the drink,
mhm.
everything's all inclusive.
Yeah, that's
And,
often common, I think, on cruise ships. Mhm.
yeah.
And then we have full board, half board, or self catering. Those are things that they're prefixes to holidays. Uh-huh. And it's to do with your accommodation. So full board means you have your accommodation and all your meals, but maybe you don't have the drinks. Yeah. So that's why it's not all inclusive. Yeah. But full board means you have breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Half board, you have
Breakfast and
breakfast
lunch, or
and
breakfast and dinner.
breakfast and lunch or breakfast and dinner, but you don't have 3 meals, yeah?
Yeah.
And then self-catering obviously is very common, which is where you cook for yourself. What do you like doing when you go on holiday, Craig? How do you like it? Do you like package, all inclusive,
I don't
self-catering,
like,
full board,
no.
half board?
I like, if I'm in a hotel, I prefer not to have breakfast
Ah,
and not
okay.
and not
Mm-hmm.
to have any meals, because I like to go outside and find a
Mm-hmm.
nice cafe and explore and find places. Plus, I don't eat that much for
Mm-hmm.
breakfast, so a big breakfast
Mm-hmm.
for
You
me.
don't like it.
Well, I enjoyed it in Ireland because you get the fried breakfasts,
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
and in Scotland as well. So that was,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. But normally
I,
in
I'm
hotels,
I'm not a fan of package holidays. I'm not a fan of all-inclusive holidays.
you're
And
restricted, aren't you?
if I do go on, yeah, I think because to have more freedom, really. Um, and we usually, but I think that's because we're a family. We do often go on self-catering holidays. We used to go on self-catering holidays, obviously, because it's cheaper when you're traveling as a family. But actually, as I've got older, I actually prefer self-catering holidays because I've noticed that if I'm not on a self-catering holiday and I have to find a restaurant every single night for more than 3 or 4 nights,
Mhm.
I get really bored and tired and frustrated looking for restaurants, and I get tired of eating restaurant food.
Yeah.
It doesn't. I don't think I was like that when I was younger. I think I could have when I was younger. I could have eaten other people's food all the time, but now that I'm older, I don't like it. So I do actually like to have some meals that I have control over the
Yeah.
food.
No, that
Yeah,
makes a lot of sense. And
yeah,
very often I'll just have one big meal for lunch and
yeah,
something light in the evening. Just eat in the
yeah,
room and just have
uh-huh,
something small. Yeah.
hmm,
So obviously going abroad, that means leaving your country and going to another country. And if you visit a
hmm,
city, it's very common to have a guided tour.
hmm,
Um, not only of the city, maybe a half-day tour or a day tour, but you can have a guide that's with you for the whole trip. And a
hmm,
few years ago, I went to Albania, and it was
hmm,
a package holiday, and we had guided tours included in the
hmm,
price of the holiday. So the guide was on the coach with us. We were in a big group of Spanish
hmm,
people. And then we got off the coach with the guide. We toured somewhere, got back on the coach, went to the next place.
hmm.
And it was okay. I know you're not keen on these kind of
No, I
holidays, but
am. I have to say, when I
you
was
don't have to
younger,
think, you don't have to
I bet I know.
plan.
And you
You
learn
just
a lot. You do learn a lot if
and
you
there's
have a
no
guide.
stress
Hmm.
because everything is
Yeah.
organized and you just follow
Uh-huh.
the group, and
Uh-huh. No,
sometimes
no, no. They have
it's nice.
advantages. When I was younger, I used to think, oh, you see all these people going around Paris following somebody with an
Some with a
umbrella or
flag,
whatever,
yeah,
or a flag.
or silly
And you
hats.
used to think, and I used to think, oh, I don't like those. But I have to say now, if we go to a museum, we often get a guided tour in a museum. You enjoy it so much more if you have somebody who knows and can tell you about what you're seeing. And that's the same for the city tours as well. It's really interesting going on city tours with a guide. So I do like them very much. But I like to have a bit of freedom in my holiday. I wouldn't like to have every single day planned, I think.
Speaking of freedom, kind of
Hmm.
connected, the difference between a family holiday and a single holiday. For example, you probably for years have traveled with your family, and I've traveled
Hmm.
with my partner, with my wife. I miss sometimes traveling by myself,
Hmm.
only for the reason of when you're traveling alone, you're more open to meeting people.
Hmm. Hmm.
Whereas if you're with your family and if you're in a couple, you're not so open to
Hmm.
start a conversation, have some small
Hmm.
talk, and get to know other people. Do you
Yes.
miss traveling as a
Yeah,
single
and
person?
I think I do. I think because we've got some more questions down, haven't we? Which is what was your best holiday? And if I think back to some of my best holidays were as actually not traveling solo, but it was going on a holiday with strangers in a kind of all inclusive. I did a couple of holidays in Africa where it was all inclusive in the sense that it was a safari and you were camping with other people, but before you actually got to Africa, you didn't know who the other people were, but you
Yeah.
knew that they wanted to do the same. So you probably had shared interests, and they were fantastic holidays, spending 2 weeks with strangers.
Getting to
But
know them.
obviously we knew that we liked the same things. So we definitely had something in common, but obviously the people were very different age ranges too.
Yeah.
And they were really interesting holidays, because I do like meeting new people on holiday. And it's true that when you're in families, you don't, or if you're on a romantic holiday, you don't meet anybody else on a romantic holiday. At least if you're on a family holiday, sometimes the kids make friends with other families, and then you you get to know other families through the children, you know.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Well, let's talk about that. Let's jump to the best and worst holiday. And this is also a question for you if you're watching live.
Yeah.
What was your best holiday, or what was your worst holiday? Do any stick out, which means you remember them very distinctly?
Hmm.
Is it very clear in your memory because they were particularly bad or really, really good?
Hmm.
What was some of
And you
your
can also tell us what kind of holidays you really don't like and why. So if you don't like romantic holidays, or you don't like single holidays, or and tell us why. So go on then, Craig. What was your best holiday ever? Have you got one in mind?
I've been very lucky. I've been on some
Hmm.
wonderful, wonderful holidays. I tend to remember the last holiday I've been on more than any other, that
Hmm.
for some reason, and unless it was particularly bad, and I haven't had many bad holidays. So the last one that I've been on tends to be my best because that's the one that's most in my memory. And
Uh-huh.
in July, I went to Scotland because a good friend of mine invited us to visit him. He was having a reunion. Be
Hmm.
careful of that word reunion. It's a false friend if you're a Spanish speaker. It just means that people get together after many years and meet and catch up on each
Hmm.
other's news. So he was having a family reunion in Scotland, and he'd rented this huge house next to a lake, or a loch, as they say.
Hmm.
And very surprisingly, he invited me, because I'm a very old friend, to join the family reunion.
Oh,
So
wow.
I
Uh-huh.
went over and
Uh-huh.
stayed with him, and it was not only fantastic to be in Scotland, especially when it was so hot here in
I was
Spain.
going, yeah, but I think in Scotland you had fantastic weather, didn't you?
We did. It was really,
Uh-huh.
really hot in the south of England in July, the
Uh-huh.
beginning of
Yeah.
July, but it was warm and hot
Uh-huh.
in Scotland as well. So
Hmm.
we
Hmm.
were lucky. And yeah, it was great to see him and meet his family as well. So it was a
Hmm.
fantastic holiday. So even though I've been to further places, maybe other
Hmm.
countries in the past, that one is fresh in my
Hmm.
mind. So that's probably
Hmm.
my best. What about you?
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's a difficult question, because I've been very lucky too. I've had many really, really good holidays. In fact, I find it difficult to think of the worst holiday, because most of my holidays have been very nice. Yeah. I do remember those holidays that I did have in Africa, doing safaris, or those holidays where I went alone, but was in a sort of very small group with strangers for a while. And I did a couple of those holidays, and they were adventure holidays, like him I mentioned earlier. They were
Yeah.
adventure holidays, and they were holidays where I pushed my own limits as well. I climbed Kilimanjaro on one of them, and it was like pushing your limits, and pushing your out of your comfort zone.
Mhm.
And it was really enjoyable. So I think I liked those. But we've had some fantastic family holidays too. I think that the trick with holidays is not to plan too much. The best holidays are always the ones where every day brings you something new and you're grateful for it. I think you have a problem with holiday if you go into a holiday with a lot of expectations, I think. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
and
so
also
that's why I don't like to plan too much with the
if you plan
holidays.
too much as well, you're not very open to the experiences sometimes. And
Exactly.
also, if you have an open mind, then you're a lot more open to accepting things when they go wrong,
Mhm,
because
mhm,
things often go wrong on holidays.
mhm,
And if you accept it in a positive way, then it
mhm,
becomes much more enjoyable. Yeah.
mhm. And have you got anything in mind for your worst holiday?
Well, probably the most traumatic was I was robbed at gunpoint in Venezuela. But I told you that story. I think I've shared that story on the podcast. Did I not tell you
I
that
don't think you've
story?
told me. Tell me, tell me.
Well, it was a long time ago. It was 2006, and I was traveling in
Hmm.
Venezuela with my wife. And it could have happened in any country because we traveled to many different countries that maybe it could have happened in. It wasn't.
Hmm.
Now, I knew at the time that the capital was quite dangerous, but we were out in the country. We were near the border with Brazil, and we
Hmm.
were going to rent a boat to take us down a river.
Hmm.
And we were in a Jeep with a German family, and suddenly people came out of the forest with guns. There was a big tree blocking the path,
Oh my
and we were told
goodness.
to come out, and we were robbed with a gun to our heads.
Oh
So that
goodness,
was
that's
probably
terrifying.
that's not a holiday I want to repeat.
No, I bet not. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
But they just robbed things. They weren't violent with you apart from that, or
No, no, they weren't.
no.
They didn't hit us or
Then you
anything.
were
And
lucky, because I mean, some of those hijackings can be very nasty, can't they?
yeah,
They can be quite scary.
yeah,
Oh, well, you
Angela,
were
it
lucky.
wasn't. It wasn't. How can I explain it? It was in an area because we had to go to the local police station. It was very remote, and I can't remember the village that we went to. But the policeman in the village said that it had never ever happened in that
Hmm.
area. And I
Mm,
think that we'd stopped for lunch, and I think where we'd stopped for lunch on the motorway was where people had seen tourists, and they
mm,
probably followed the Jeep. And then when we took a path that was off of the road to go down the river, that was where they'd blocked the road, and we
mhm,
were kind of attacked. So
mhm,
it wasn't a common thing. And I knew
mhm,
that Caracas could be dangerous, so we didn't go to Caracas. And this was in 2006,
mhm.
Angela. So yeah, I think we were just unlucky. We were in the wrong place at the wrong time. And if you do travel a lot, then something like that could happen. It could happen in
Yeah,
London. It could happen in New York.
mhm.
It could happen anywhere.
Anywhere, I agree. I like what Christine's written. She says it doesn't matter. Uh, Maybe Christine, you should say it doesn't matter if you travel on a shoestring or in the lap of luxury. That's very good. What I really like is spending time with my family and friends. So for the people who maybe don't know those lovely collocations that Christine's used there, traveling on a shoestring means traveling on a very limited budget. So when you haven't got a lot of money, yeah. And the lap of luxury, the lap is your knees, isn't it? Like you have a little
Mhm.
child and the child sits on your lap. And if
Laptop.
you are in the lap of luxury, it means that you're very, very, you're being pampered and you're lying in a lovely, beautiful environment. That's being in the lap of luxury. But she's quite right as well. It doesn't actually, I don't think money doesn't really seem to really make a difference on the holidays. I think it's more your attitude, isn't it, really?
Yeah. Yeah.
And you enjoy different experiences. I mean, obviously money makes a difference to the type of experiences you can enjoy on holiday, obviously. But
It also makes a difference to the type of people you meet because
yeah.
I mean I wouldn't say I've traveled in the lap of luxury, but I have stayed in quite nice hotels,
Hmm.
and the kind of people I'd meet in a youth hostel when I was a lot younger traveling
Hmm.
on a shoestring, I had a much better time being
Hmm.
with them and hanging out with them than I did sort of meeting people in the bar of a fancy hotel. So
Yes, that's true. That's true. And the best experience, I had a couple of those experiences where I was traveling on a relative shoestring. I mean, I remember it on one of those trips to Africa, we were actually camping. So we were on safari, quite dirty because we were camping outside in the savannah and then traveling on dusty jeeps with the dust and everything. And then we also went into a part of the Serengeti, and just suddenly the jeep that we were in, we were radioed that we had to stop in the park and we had to go back to one of the park hotels.
mhm.
which we weren't using. And we didn't understand it, but our guides had been instructed. And it was because there'd been a similar incident that, like you had, that there had been a group of people who had been hijacked and robbed. And then the local police had radioed ahead to all of the safaris in the park to tell the people to go back to these meeting points while the police were in the park trying to find these armed gunmen who had been hijacking some visitors. So we went back to this park place. Now that this park hotel wasn't really a hotel that we, on our budget, on our holiday, would have gone to, but by chance we had to go. And I remember enjoying that wonderfully because there were free drinks and we had proper toilets that flushed, and we'd been out in the savannah for like 4 days and we hadn't been on a proper toilet for 4 days. So we were just all very happy that we were in a bathroom with running water, and then we were sitting outside, and the only thing we had to do was they were serving us drinks to try to keep all the tourists happy and calm while they sorted this problem out in the park.
Did they catch the carjackers?
I'm not sure. I can't remember. We were just told there was a certain like go ahead and then it was safe to go, but they actually brought the army in because I think it was a worse experience than the one that you had, because some of the tourists had been quite nastily injured. Yeah,
wow.
There was quite a lot of violence involved. So I think because the police came, and then there was some military, and then they secured certain areas of the park, and then they allowed the tour groups to go through those areas, but not to venture much further.
Yeah,
but it's
just to comment on what Ankala said, because I still had a really good holiday in Venezuela, Ankala, because this happened just 3 days or 4 days before the end of the trip. And we had spent 3 weeks in Venezuela, and we really did have a good time until then. And then obviously we had to go to Caracas to get new passports because we had our passports stolen. But yeah, it was a shame to finish the holiday like that. But we still had a good time in the country.
Yeah, and you've got a good story from it, so there you are.
Yeah, I've got a good story for it. Yeah, not many people can say they've been robbed at gunpoint.
At gunpoint, yeah. No. I hope it never happens to me. It's not something I want either.
So on a better note, what would your dream holiday be like if money was no object and you could go anywhere?
Oh, now I thought about that this afternoon. Hang on. I'm just looking for what did I write down, because that was a really tricky question.
Same question for you in the chat. Where would you most like to go if money was not a problem? Let us know in the chat.
Here we go. Here's for me then, right? I would like an exciting holiday, right? It doesn't have to be luxurious.
Define exciting. Exciting in what way?
Exciting with lots of different experiences, So they could be sporting experiences, or they could be meeting people or doing things that I don't normally do. Yeah. Not just, for example, a dream holiday for me wouldn't be maybe doing a guided tour of a city, not something like that, something a bit more out of the ordinary. I said, I don't think I need a lot of comfort, but for example, I would like a nice, big, comfortable mobile home, for example.
I thought you were going to say a mobile phone.
No, a mobile home, to go on a road trip, so to be very spontaneous and just to drive where I wanted. But something sort of easy, so I don't have to make lots of arrangements about checking into hotels or something. So a nice one of these nice big camper vans, I think I would like. And maybe do some adventures, and go to different countries and maybe go on safaris again, and things like that. I think that those would be my dream holidays. I've never been to the Arctic or Iceland, and I know that there are some fantastic holidays where you can go and see Father Christmas, and you can go on dog sleighs and things in Greenland or wherever it is.
The Northern Lights. You can travel to the south of Argentina and Chile, and you can get a boat. I think it's a Russian boat that goes to the South Pole.
Oh,
and it's
wow!
One of those icebreakers.
Oh, an icebreaker.
So that would be an interesting cruise on a boat to go to the South Pole.
Yeah, those kind of holidays, something different. What about you? What would your dream holiday be like?
Well, I thought about this as well, and rather than say like a specific place, because there are many places I haven't been to, I'd like to try. My dream holiday would be traveling without one eye on the calendar, without thinking, "Oh, on this date I have to go back."
Ah, okay.
So
So,
just,
so there's a word for that, Craig. You want an open-ended holiday.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I envy these people who are digital nomads, and I met a couple
Ah.
here in Valencia.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out to Stephanie and Evan if you're watching. But they
Mm-hmm.
are traveling around Europe at the moment. They're American and they're working from the flat. And every 3 months, they change countries because their visa expires. So they're going
Oh,
from country to
wow.
country. And at the moment,
Mm-hmm.
they're in Valencia. So that will be wonderful because you just go home when you're bored, when you've had enough, and you think,
Mm-hmm.
"Oh, I miss my city, I miss my family, I miss my
Mm-hmm.
flat," but not because you have to go back.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That would be nice.
I also think, I'll tell you another story now. I went on a holiday once when I went cycling once on a cycling holiday, but the cycling holiday was for 2 months. So for 2 months, I was cycling. So every day I was on my cycle. And then at night, I had a little tent. You would have hated it because it was camping as well, you see.
No.
So I had the tent and we were actually cycling around New Zealand. I did this when I was about 30 years ago. And so every day we got up and we went basically from one campsite and we kind of knew the general direction and we just got on the bicycles and cycled for about between 60 and 80k every day, right? Between 60 and 80k. And at the beginning, it was like we were following the map and we were saying, yeah, we're going to go here and then we'll get to this place in 2 days and we'll get to this place in 3 days. And it was all sort of very ordered. But because we were away for 2 months, 2 months is a long time.
Yeah.
And then after the third week, because I think most holidays are usually like 1 week, 2 weeks, maybe if you're lucky, 3 weeks. And after 3 weeks, you started to get this new kind of mentality. And it felt like that. It felt like it was a way of life that you actually just got up and you got on your bicycle and you didn't really make plans. You just knew that you were going to the next campsite. And I have to say, that was an amazing experience that I had to have that kind, because your whole mental outlook changes. Yeah.
How did when you
And you need really open-ended holiday for that.
can I ask you a question about that cycling trip? Because
Mm-hmm.
I have never done a cycling trip, but I
Mm-hmm.
have been, as I was recently in Scotland, driving around, passing cyclists,
Mm-hmm.
pedaling up this really, really steep
Mm-hmm.
hill
Mm-hmm.
in the rain, thinking, I
I
wonder
remember that.
what they're thinking. Did you ever
Uh-huh.
think, why am I doing this? Why am I pedaling up this hill in the rain? I'm completely wet. I'm hungry.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
Mm-hmm.
tired, and I just want to get to bed. Did that cross
Uh-huh.
your mind?
Oh no, that happened several times as well when I was on the trip. No. We had, I mean, you have some days which are just, but it's it's another experience because you're pushed out of your comfort zone and you suddenly it's just you and the weather and the road and you can't give up because especially in New Zealand we were often in some very remote places where during the day maybe 3 cars passed us in the entire
Right.
day. So when the weather got really bad and the terrain got really bad, you didn't really have a choice because you could either sit down in the pouring rain and try to put a tent up, or you just keep going. and
Yeah.
and it was a real challenge. But I mean, yes, we had some very bad days. I mean, some days were good and some days were horrible. But you forget about that and you're quite proud of yourself afterwards because you think, wow, I did that. I got up that hill.
Speaking of
Mhm.
challenges, I like this question from Christine. What about volunteering holidays? And I've thought many times about volunteering as a teacher, especially in Asia, because Asia is a part of the world that I really love. So maybe
Mhm.
in a country like Cambodia or Laos,
Mhm.
to teach there. and I have been in touch with organizations that organize it. Well, organize it. I think one of the problems is you can say you're going for 2 or 3 weeks and you arrive in the country expecting everything to be organized, and really it isn't. And I've spoken to people who have done similar volunteering holidays, not only as teachers, but my wife's a dentist, are also dentists in Africa, and they arrive there to volunteer, to give their time, and nothing is ready, nothing's organized, and they waste a lot of time doing what they went there to do, and they feel very, very frustrated. So I've been looking for an organization where that doesn't happen. So we'll see. But yeah, I would like to do that. I would like to volunteer. Ole says traveling to Kyoto, Japan. That's why, Ole. What attracts you to that part of the world? Why are you interested? Is it a cultural thing? Are you interested in Japanese culture or food?
Well,
Or
you've
Kyoto
got
specifically?
interesting image, isn't it, Ole? You have a very interesting image there. Is that like a Japanese, like animated character,
Manga. Yeah,
or is
I
that
think that's a
manga
manga
character?
character, isn't it?
But
Yeah.
manga's not from Japan, is it? Manga's from
Yeah,
South
manga's.
Korea, isn't it?
Oh, no, I think it's Japanese. Ole, can you clarify this?
Ah,
Where's
okay.
manga from originally? I think it's
Mm-hmm.
Japanese, but it might be Korean. No, I think
Oh,
it's
okay.
Japanese
So
manga.
maybe it's a manga fan,
Yeah,
and that's
that's
why you
why.
want to go to Kyoto, Japan. Yeah.
Culture and traditional building. Manga's Japanese. Yeah. Culture and
Ah,
traditional
okay.
buildings. Yeah.
Oh, that's why. That's probably why. I'm sorry. Ole, is Ole your first name or your surname? And I don't know if that's a female name or a male name. Do you know, Craig? Because I'm saying he or she, and I don't.
Mm,
I'm sorry, I don't know. Is it Teras?
I'm not sure.
Maybe
I'm
you
not
can
sure.
tell us. Do we call
According
you he or she or?
according to the manga image, I'm going for she. But pronouns are a problem these days, aren't they? Aren't they? Maybe that's a topic for another week. But
Another week. Well,
pronouns,
you tell us what you'd like us to call you by.
yeah,
And I think though that when they've written culture and traditional building, I think that's the reason that Ole
I want to
wants to go
visit.
to Japan.
Yeah.
That's the reason for culture and traditional buildings. I've only been in Japan once for a day, and I have to say it's amazing. I was in Osaka for one day, and I was just blown away by how different it was. And I thought, this is a place that I have to go back to because there's so much to discover. It's so different from any other place that I've ever been. So
Yeah.
I would also like to go to Japan. I think that would be a very
Maybe that's the
interesting
perfect
holiday.
destination for a camper van, to drive a camper van around Japan. That would be a
No, well, you
fantastic
see, I
holiday.
would quite like to drive a camper van across the land, you know. Can you imagine like driving from Europe going all the way across to Asia? Then I'd have to get a boat across from China to Japan. Yeah. That's I want to do like a mega world holiday in a camper van. That's probably what I want to do.
Well, you'd need to not keep an eye on the calendar to do that.
No. Well, it'd have to be
A long
open-ended, but
time.
you
A
said
long
dream
time.
holiday, didn't you?
Yeah.
You said dream holiday. And please note that I'm choosing the camper van over the bicycle because I'm too old now for the bicycle. I need a bit of lap of luxury.
Do we have time for one more question? What do you think?
Yeah, go ahead. Go on.
Let's do one more question here. Do you have a preference, or shall I just
No,
pull
you go
one up?
ahead. You go ahead.
Oh, this is interesting. How many holidays do you need? One for 12 months a year. Would you like a holiday every year, and long or short? So, yeah, one thing that occurs to me with that question is I know some people, especially with kids and with families, with young kids, they tend to go back to the same place every
Mm-hmm.
year. Here
Mm-hmm.
in Spain, it's very common for people to go to the coast when they have holiday time, and they might even have a second home, or they rent a second home, and it's the same place every year, which I've never really understood. I understand it from the children's point of view.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's easier if they know the area. Maybe the children have friends in the area. But what do you think, Lynn?
No,
Would
I
you?
agree with you. I'm not a person who likes to repeat. We have repeated with our own children in one place, but only 3 times. And each time it was because there was still more new things that we wanted to do there. Yeah. But I'm not a person who likes to go back to somewhere where I've already been, I have to say.
Mm,
And I definitely prefer long holidays. I'm not a person that really enjoys weekends.
me
I've
neither.
tried it, but I don't like going away for weekends. I think it's too short. You spend too much money,
Yep.
and I don't find that I really get into the relaxation of the holiday. So I have a clear, it has to be a long holiday. And for me, 3 weeks is the ideal minimum. But I'm open to these 12 months or 3-year holidays. I've never
Yeah.
had one. The longest holiday I've ever had has been that one that I did when I cycled around New Zealand. And that was a 3-month holiday, and 2 months
Oh,
of it was cycling. That's the longest holiday I've ever had, 3 months.
I think that's the longest I've ever
Mm.
had, but I was very young
Hmm.
at the time.
Yes, I was
Uh,
young. I was finished studying. It was like a kind of time between studying and really starting to work. But
the
I'm
prob-
not a fan of short holidays. I would rather have one longer holiday per year than several short ones,
Me
I
too,
think.
and there's certain things I like to do at the weekend. So if I go
Hmm.
away for the weekend and come back, then the week starts immediately, and I feel like I've the things that I normally do at the weekend, I haven't had time to do, and I
Yeah.
don't really relax. Whereas if I go on holiday for at least a week, then
Hmm.
I plan for that and I put systems in place
Hmm.
with work that I can like email replies and automatic posts on the internet. So everything's
Hmm.
organized and I know that I'm going to be away for that time.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
weekends are tricky,
Hmm.
difficult.
So I think that we should finish. I would like to finish on one note, and that is holidays are over and we're back to work. But being back to work is nice too. And I do enjoy my work, and I enjoy working with you, Craig. And it's really nice that everybody's come back to listen to us. And I hope you haven't been bored that we've been talking about holidays. And I hope it's made you feel good about being back to work. And for all those people in South America, you can be planning your holidays soon, because the summer is approaching for you in the Southern Hemisphere.
Absolutely. And
Um,
maybe we've
so
given you
you can
some
be
ideas.
planning.
Yeah. Maybe just
Yeah.
talking about it, you're thinking, well, camping, I don't know. Craig's got a point. Why would we go camping if we can maybe stay in a nice hotel? But
Nah,
anyway,
go camping, go camping.
go cycling up hills in the rain. Um, so, Lynn, do you want to remind people who weren't here at the beginning how they can get in
Mhm.
touch with you and work
Okay,
with you?
my company is called putitlikethis.com, and that's because I hope that I can help students to put it the way they want to in English. So to be able to find their own voice in English. So it could be that everybody has a specific aim why they're learning English. Some people to pass exams, some people because they like to travel, some people because they maybe have to use English to teach in English, or they have to write in English. So depending on your specific purpose for English, then I tailor make a course to fit you, to help you to be able to find your own voice and do what you want to do better. Mhm. So if you're interested, you can go to my website. You can see some more information about how I work and how the classes work. And if you're interested, you can contact me via that website.
Okay.
Mhm.
And I'm Craig. If you're interested in a paid course to help you with your English on Mansion Inglés, you'll see the online store. We also have a free bi-monthly newsletter every 2 weeks that you can sign up for. And there's a podcast at inglespodcast.com. You can listen to that wherever you listen to your podcasts. And from October, I'll be starting another conversation course online using Zoom with myself and a small group of lovely students. If you're interested in joining that, go and sign up at englishmasterclass.net, and I'll send you more information in an email when it gets closer to October. It's also really nice to see our friends in the chat room again after our break. Obviously, it's great to be back with Lynn, and we will be doing another Facebook Live in 2 weeks, Lynn and I, at the same time, 8:30. But then after that, we'll be back to our normal 8 o'clock.
Yeah, so
Time.
8:30 is just for September, isn't it? And
It
then
is.
in October, we'll be going back to 8 o'clock. Okay.
Yeah. And
All
I'll
right.
see you
Oh,
next
and
week. Yes.
yeah, and maybe just mention, because you've all joined this first time or this first time of our new season of live classes. And remember, we like to have your ideas about what kind of classes you would like. So if you have certain aspects of English or certain topics that you'd like to hear us talking about and doing vocabulary about those, then let us know. Yeah. And then we'll be doing the classes for things that interest you. Craig and I have many things that interest us, don't we, Craig?
Yeah, we could speak for hours.
We can talk about all sorts of things, but we want to talk about things that also interest you. So give us some feedback and let us know what you would like to listen to this term. Okay.
And you can contact Lynn through her website. You can contact me through the websites I mentioned earlier. And I've just put my Twitter handle in the chat. So mention Twit if you want to send me a DM on Twitter. So have a great week. Thanks for watching.
Yep.
Thanks for being here.
You too. Thank you.
And we'll see you soon.
Okay. Bye-bye. Have a nice
Bye-bye.
evening. Bye.